We have the mayor who's going to join me right now. If we have some time, the mayor was one of the officials who just spoke in this press conference. Mayor, I know it's been such a tough time for you. What message do you want to get out there to the public?
First off, there are a lot of grieving families, and I grieve with them. But the thing I think people need to know is it's not just Kerrville working on this. It's not just Kerr County. It's the state and the nation. And we have experts in emergency management that are here and guiding, helping us guide this entire process. But as I said earlier, we're still hopeful. I mean, we're still hopeful for every inch, every mile, every bend of the river that we're going to have a miracle and find someone to save. So
this is still very much a search and rescue mission?
Indeed.
When do you think it will transfer to recovery?
I'm not the expert on that.
I, as you heard me in the press conference, was asking about the coordination between county officials, emergency managers, and National Weather Service. Were you involved in any discussions leading up to the deadly flooding about the concerns with the weather and potential evacuations or activating any plans?
I am not an emergency manager. I did check the weather that night. I went to the National Weather Service website. It said we had a slight chance of about 2 to 4 inches in the morning of July 4th.
Is it 5 to 7, right?
My memory is 2 to 4, but I'm an older person. And being a hill country boy, I went outside and looked at the sky. Partly cloudy, the sky was not angry. And I thought to myself, someone's going to get rain, but it's probably not going to be us. And I was wrong. I was awakened in the middle of the night by thunder. I looked outside. We had a light rain. In fact, the city of Kerrville really didn't have a lot of rain until later in the day. It all happened upriver at the worst possible place. And I think everyone in Kerrville, everyone in Kerr County wishes to God we'd had some way to warn them.
If we do even know the outside consequences of this geoengineering,
to warn those people.
We can't predict the weather next week. How can we then be sending these guys up there to do this?
I've lost 2 friends.
The ramifications or the outcomes. I think that's a
We left them.
question. It is. It's kind of frustrating to get one answer to that.
And they're
It
gone.
definitely needs to be asked.
They're gone. Everyone here, if we could have warned them, we would have done so. And we didn't even have a warning. We did not know.
You didn't know how severe?
No.
I'm so sorry for the loss of your friends.
We did not know. There was no. When I checked it about 8 o'clock that night, there's a chance of rain. But I did not see a flood warning. I did not receive a flood notification. I did not know.
There was around 6:30 p.m. the National Weather Service gave a dire river forecast, but I wonder how common.
The map was all the way from Kerr County to Valverde County, hundreds of miles, and we were on the very edge of that map. And even if we were on the edge of the map, if it had hit 5 miles to the west, you'd be in Real County right now, because the water would have all rushed to Real County. Yes.
How common are those types of alerts and the weather warnings and the flood warnings? Because there has been discussion too about whether there's alert fatigue.
Oh no, we get alerts on floods fairly often because of the terrain here. But I look at every one of them, even before I was elected mayor. I look at every one of them because it's critical to know and to share.
And did you get an alert on your phone in those overnight hours?
I did not.
Does that concern you?
Yes, of course it does.
What are you going to do as mayor to get to the bottom of this?
Well, thank you for asking. You know, as mayor, I have fairly limited authority within the city of Kerrville. I don't have authority outside the city of Kerrville. I am sure our community, the city government and the county government, are going to focus on what can be done to prevent this from happening again. And because honestly, I individually did not receive a warning in time. When I woke up, I got a call from the city manager. I got up.
What time was that?
Oh, goodness. 5 5:30ish. I can look on my phone, but about 5:30ish. I went downtown and I looked at the river, and it was already, our Louise Hayes Park was already inundated. That was the first time I knew.
This is still one of the most flood-prone areas in the country. What are the biggest questions you have moving forward to keep your residents safe?
Well, I'm an older person, and I was born here, and I've seen many floods. And if the conditions are right, like this one was, they're devastating. But floods are common here, and people who are from here have learned to be aware and to be vigilant. The problem, of course, July 4th weekend, we had a lot of visitors. And of course, we have the summer camps. I can guarantee you that my friend Jane Ragsdale at Heart of the Hills Camp for Girls,
I was a camper there many years ago.
my daughter was too, and Dick Eastland at Camp Mystic, they checked the weather too that night. I'm sure they did. They did every night. And they both passed away helping others.
And I know as a former camper at both those camps how much they cared about the campers, and had they known how severe it would have been, they would have done anything. Mayor, I'm so sorry for the loss of your friends and the community at large. This is an unbearable tragedy that you're experiencing. I just will have one more quick question. There had been talk over the years about employing a siren system if there's flooding. Do you now that should come into play?
I've read reporting that said in 2017 the county investigating having a flood warning system, and that FEMA turned down their grant request. That was before I was in government, but
There was a state request that was denied, and then there were discussions after that, according to our Kurt Devine, about employing some sort of warning system. But now, given this horrific flooding event, you have to wonder whether that will now be put into place.
Well, we don't have to wonder. It will. Our community is going to talk about that. We're going to try to figure this out.
Mayor, best of luck. I know you've been up around the clock helping your residents. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
There's renewed attention right now on the National Weather Service and its role in forecasting severe weather and sending out alerts in time. The agency has been hit hard by staffing cuts under the Trump administration. CNN's Brian Todd is here with me in the Situation Room. Brian, I know you've been doing a lot of reporting on this. Take us through the timeline of warnings from the National Weather Service.
Well, Wolf, there is a lot of attention being paid this morning to that timeline of the rainfall and the flooding and whether the warnings were in fact adequate or not. 4 months of rain came down in just a matter of hours in that area. A wall of water surged down the Guadalupe River in the overnight hours Thursday into Friday. That limited the number of people who could get the warnings. The National Weather Service began forecasting the threat of flooding in Kirk County as early as Thursday morning, July 3rd, with a hazardous flood outlook. At 1:18 p.m. Central Time on Thursday, a flood watch was issued, highlighting Kerrville, among other locations, as being at risk of flash flooding. But local officials have pointed out the forecast was for less rain than the amount that actually ended up falling. There were several technical forecasts through Thursday afternoon and evening with increasingly heightened language about the magnitude of the potential flooding. Now we move ahead to 1:14 a.m. Central Time on Friday morning. The first warning for life-threatening flash floods for Kerrville came, and that was marked specifically to trigger the emergency alert system. Now that would have sounded the alarm on cell phones in the warned area, assuming those cell phones had service and their users hadn't turned off the alerts. At 4:03 a.m. Central Time on Friday, a flash flood emergency warning was issued for Kirk County. At 4:35 a.m. Central Time, the Kirk County Sheriff's Office sent the first report of flooding at low water crossings. At around 5 o'clock a.m. Central Time, this is a crucial moment here, on Friday, 5 o'clock Friday morning, the Guadalupe River burst from its banks, sweeping homes, cars, cabins, and people downstream. At 5:34 a.m. Central Time, a flash flood emergency warning was issued for Kerrville. It took about 90 minutes for a flood wave that measured about 20 feet to move down the Guadalupe River overnight on Thursday into Friday. This was that river's second highest crest on record. Wolf, it was horrific.
I know, Brian, there are some vacancies at the National Weather Service right now. What are you learning about that?
Well, according to our CNN reporting by our colleagues, Andrew Friedman, Emma Tucker, and Mary Gilbert, there are 2 offices of the National Weather Service in Texas that are closely involved in forecasting and warning about flooding on the Guadalupe River. Those are the Austin San Antonio office of the National Weather Service and its office in San Angelo, Texas. They are missing some key staff members, but they still issued several watches and warnings about the flood danger. Tom Fahey, he is the legislative director for the National Weather Service's Employees Union. He told CNN that while he believes the offices had, quote, adequate staffing and resources, the Austin San Antonio office is missing what they call a warning coordination meteorologist. That's a role that serves as a crucial direct link between forecasters and emergency managers. We can also tell you that this morning, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said she is not aware of any breakdown in emergency warning systems that could have contributed to the high death toll. But Kerrville City Manager Dalton Rice says officials there are committed to doing what he calls a full review of events and the systems in place after so many questions have been raised about emergency notifications and evacuation guidance. Wolf, this has got to be a completely forensic review of this to figure out what may have broken down here.